Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellowshow. My name is Kyle. Tonight, Wednesday, December 22nd. Hope you guys are doing well. So with the games being pushed back to Monday and Tuesday, this is actually our waiver wire show. I will take some start-sit questions if you have them. But for the first part of the show, I'm just going to kind of read some of the major headlines, news, and notes from the day. I think one of the bigger ones was Austin Eckler, Chargers running back, placed on the COVID list today. Now, the head coach has not ruled out Eckler, and I'm assuming that he's vaccinated, that he could be able to return quicker than normal. It's just a weird situation. I thought he was going to be placed on the COVID list on Monday, so I thought he had a better chance of playing, but for now, officially placed on the COVID list as of today, Wednesday, so we'll see if he can make it back. Lamar Jackson still not practicing. They're kind of thinking it's 50-50 that he plays, so we'll monitor that. For now, I do think if you need a quarterback, Tyler Huntley's not a bad guy to hold on to just in case. Miles Sanders didn't practice today, but I'm not expecting him to practice a game after, at last night's game. He's not going to be active for practice. The Patriots running backs, Ramondre Stevenson not practicing with an illness, but Damian Harris was able to practice in limited capacity. So we have to watch Ramondre's status. If Ramondre can't go, Damian Harris looks like he's on track to play, and he will be a strong play as well. Good evening to Justin. Hope you're doing well. Just reading the news and notes right now, we have Julio Jones practicing today. I just don't think we can trust Julio Jones in our lineups at all. That hamstring just seems to be really just acting up on him at random times. So I don't want any part of Julio. We're 50-50 though on AJ Brown. He's going to be a game time decision tomorrow night. I think if you have AJ Brown and you don't have any better options behind him, and he plays, I think I'm trying to get him in my lineups. I'm seeing that Laviska Shenault did not practice today. Antonio Gibson listed as did not practice today. He's got the toe injury now. They're kind of explaining it as his turf toe that he had last year. That's kind of what it was. It sounds like an aggravation of that. I'm opportunistic, though. He did return from the game last night after leaving early, so we'll see. We'll have to watch his reports the rest of the week. And then Pat Freiermuth, it's his second concussion in the last month, and he's not practicing, so we'll see what happens there. What's going on, Christian? Thanks for hanging out. Cordero had a very concerning week. Is he still worth a start? I'm not sure what to make of the Cordero Patterson stat line. He did struggle last week. He did have a touchdown ruled as a touchdown, and then it got overturned. He still got the ball, 11 carries, 18 yards is concerning. He still caught 2 receptions, so he still had the touches, 13 total touches. It is against Detroit, so I'm going to try to lean towards keeping him in my lineup. And then if you just look at Cordero's numbers over the season, 4.3 PPR points, that's an outlier for him. I think you can bank on him at least putting up double digits this week in maintaining, his 15 plus touches. So I'm still open to Cordero Patterson. You'd have to have a really good option, I think, behind him to bench him. That's a very good question, Justin. It's hard to say. It sounds like Brandon Staley did say that he's hoping for Eckler to return this week. So I think we have to wait and see. As far as Justin Jackson and the waiver wire running tonight through, I know most ESPN leagues are running waivers tonight. I think Justin Jackson's he's a guy you want to hold on to. They play Houston. That's a smash matchup there for him. So I think the play right now is to add Justin Jackson if he plays, and Austin Eckler's out. He's probably a running back one this week. So I think he's in for a good opportunity. Is Saquon worth the start against the Eagles? So the Eagles defense is not great against the run here. They have allowed a handful of running back points. Let me see where they rank. They rank 10th in most fantasy points allowed to the running back. So they're allowing a lot of work to the running backs, a lot of receptions as well. I think they're the second most receptions to running backs. So that actually bodes pretty well for Saquon. I do think he's probably a guy that, if you play PPR, I'm probably going to lean towards getting Saquon in there. I know Devontae Booker's looking good. We'll see who the quarterback is going to be. If it's Jake Fromm, that might be more dump offs and such. But I guess I'd have to know the rest of your options, Christian, behind Barkley to make a good case if you can start him or bench him. Did Gaskin get demoted to running back too? It kind of sounds like that. And just from the box score that we saw with Duke Johnson, they gave Duke Johnson all of the work here and he looked good. They signed him to a contract off the practice squad. So it's looking like Gaskin might be the odd man out all of a sudden. They like Duke in the passing game. They like him at the goal line. So that's where Gaskin was operating. I think for now, Gaskin is going to play they're going to play the New Orleans Saints this week. Let me see who their other schedule is. Dolphins schedule, and then they play the Titans. So just in terms of running back points allowed, the Titans allow the fewest running back points per game, and the Saints allow the second fewest. So like on paper, it's going to be hard for me to advise even starting Duke Johnson at this point. So I do think you could potentially drop Gaskin if you wanted to make room for it. Let somebody else deal with it. Again, they're playing the top 2 run defenses the next 2 weeks, so I don't feel great about either Miami Dolphin running back the next 2 weeks. Gallup versus Washington football team, or Foreman versus 49ers on Thursday night football. So I was really, happy. I was pleased with the output that they got out of Deonta Foreman the other day here. I'm just looking and seeing how many carries he actually did end up with. I believe he hit 100 yards. So Foreman, 22 carries for 108 yards, 2 catches, 27 yards. In PPR, that's 15.5 points. He's been over, double-digit PPR points in 3 straight games. In only one of those games, he scored a touchdown. So he's looking like a really safe play for double-digit PPR points. I think that's probably the safe play right now. They're playing San Francisco in terms of points allowed to the running back. San Fran, they're a median team. They've allowed 12 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns. I just think with a guy like Foreman, like you're gonna get a catch for sure, maybe 2 catches, and he's been pretty good with the yards per catch too. So you're gonna get a handful of points just from the yards receiving. That's maybe 3 or 4 PPR points there, plus whatever he does rushing the ball. So I'm leaning towards Foreman probably being the stronger play. If they get near the red zone, they have been showing that they like him to run the ball. So I think it's Foreman. The floor that Gallup had last week is a little concerning. But it is Washington. I just think as far as safe points, give me Foreman. If you need boom points, we're going to go Gallup. Do I think Thielen plays? So I think on the injury report today, they listed him as limited. He's on track to play. I mean, he was really close to playing on Monday night as well. So it's looking like he's going to play. I would lean towards him playing. I just don't know if he's going to be 100%. Maybe he's on a pitch count, that kind of thing. I just don't know how effective he's going to be right away out of that ankle. Again, he's an older receiver, a bum ankle. The matchup isn't that great either going up against the Rams. So I don't love the Thielen play this week if he does play. Rank Saquon, Cordero, Gibson, Javonte, A.J. Dillon. So we got to monitor this Antonio Gibson toe injury. That immediately makes me a little shaky about that. They could decide to rest him. I know they have a playoff hope and dream. They have to win out. So they probably are going to try to get him to play. But we'll see what happens with Gibson. I think for now, though, Cordero's the best one. I think he's got a top 5, top 10 upside this week against Detroit. So I like Cordero Patterson probably the most here. And then I think the next 2 guys I'm looking at, it's Saquon versus Javonte. Javonte at home, or no, they're at Las Vegas. I kind of like Javonte against the Raiders. Raiders are allowing the 3rd most running back points here. So that's a really good matchup. They've allowed 19 touchdowns in 14 games. So I'm kind of feeling Javonte. What was Javante's stat line last week? And I know he's listed as questionable, but even last week, he still managed to hit double-digit PPR points, 15 carries, 72 yards, 4 for 9 as a receiver with Drew Lock. That could be more dump-offs and such, and more focus on the run game because it is Drew Lock. So I think I'm going to rank them Cordero, Javonte, Saquon, Dillon, Gibson. And just with Gibson, I'm just unsure of what's going on. And yeah, Javonte is being held back, but he's still getting you look at his last 2 games, even with Melvin Gordon playing, and Javonte he's gotten 21 points and he's gotten 12 points. So I think for the most part, he's getting the ball 15 plus times no matter what. And against the Raiders, that's a really good matchup for him. Saquon, super hard to trust. I know it's a decent matchup against the Eagles, but do we really want to be trusting the Giants? I think I'm just going to roll with Javonte and probably Cordero right now. I do have good vibes for A.J. Dillon, though. If you wanted to his projections are not that great, but he's been playing with a pretty high floor. I think he's safe for a good 7 to 10 points, and if he's getting involved as a receiving weapon, that's where it's going to look good. My opponent's going to probably get Rojo. So I'm a huge Rojo guy. I think Rojo is going to probably have a nice week. They are playing the Panthers, and I guess on paper, the Panthers are pretty decent against the running back. They're the 3rd best against running back. So I guess if that's any consolation, it is on paper a tough matchup for Ronald Jones. So if he stays out of the end zone, that might be best case scenario for you. Taysom over Brady. I think it's a good case for Taysom this week, just because Tom Brady, we don't know who his receiving weapons are going to be. Is Antonio Brown going to play? I don't think Mike Evans is going to play. We know Chris Godwin's out. So he's maybe walking into this game with Gronk and Antonio Brown and Ronald Jones as the running back. So I'm a little bit nervous about Tom Brady. I think you take Taysom Hill at home against Miami. He should be good for a touchdown or two. And yeah, just the game plan with Drew Lock is probably going to be very run heavy. They don't really want Drew Lock to mess this up. Denver does have playoff hopes and dreams here, so a huge road win against Las Vegas would keep them closer to that playoff dream. And Javonte is he's playing really good. If you've been able to watch any Javonte, once they remove Melvin for 2022, Javonte, I have a feeling we're going to be taking Javonte pretty early in drafts next year. Aaron Jones, Javonte, J-Rob, A.J. Dillon, Sony, Justin Jackson, Jeff Wilson, Gallup, Devonta Smith, Gabe Davis. Start 2 running back and 1 flex. Okay. I think Aaron Jones pops off the screen. You have to start Aaron Jones. It's a good matchup against Cleveland. Cleveland's dinged up. They got the COVID bug going around here, and it is a home game for Green Bay. So I like Aaron Jones right off the top here. So Jones plays Saturday. Jeff Wilson plays Thursday. So I feel good about Jeff Wilson. I don't know if I want to whip him out there on Thursday Night Football, though. Again, the Titans are allowing the fewest rushing points per game here to the running back. So I think I like Wilson. I think it's, for me, I'm going to trust the numbers here that the Titans have been the best running backs. You look at what they did against Najee Harris last week. Now, they held Najee Harris to 5 fantasy points last week. So for me, it's Aaron Jones. And then it's probably James Robinson as the number 2 running back here. He looked really good. I'm gonna rank James Robinson number 2. So those are the 2 running backs, Jones and J-Rob. And then the 1 flex, I don't think I can. Your running backs are so damn good. I like Sony Michel a lot here, but I just wonder if Darrell Henderson's going to get more involved. I like A.J. Dillon, but again, he's kind of the handcuff running back here. If you get word that Austin Eckler's out, I think the easy call is to go with Justin Jackson. Otherwise, I would say Javonte Williams is probably the play. So if no Eckler, go JJ. If Eckler plays, you're going to go with Javonte. I do like Gabe Davis a lot, but again, it's the Patriots matchup. That's a really tough matchup on paper. And yeah, Jake Fromm's interesting. I just want to look at Jake Fromm's stats real quick. Let me see here. So last week he went 6 for 12, 82 yards. He's not afraid to kind of whip it and do some things. And I just think you put in a young quarterback like Fromm, he's gonna know where his running back is at all times. You see what happened with Garrett Gilbert last night. He was dumping it off a lot. So I do think in PPR leagues, Saquon Barkley, again, he's going to be safe for double digits. It's just a matter if he gets that touchdown or not. And sometimes it's weird. The Eagles are kind of like the Falcons, and they're just one of those teams that, like, when you get excited about them and you're like, oh, they're coming around, they just let you down the next week. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants have a sneaky good game here. I appreciate that. Is Fields going to be fine? Fields is so sloppy in the red zone. When you say fine, like for career or this week, I don't know. It's a disaster right now. I guess the good news, though, for fantasy, he's put up 16.9 and 18.36 in the last 2 games here. It looks like they're starting to let him run the ball a little bit more consistently. So I think Fields against Seattle. Seattle's defense is not great. They limited a little bit what the Rams are doing last night. But as a team, the Seahawks allowed the 4th most points here to their opponents here. They allow running back and tight end points. So I do like Cole Kmet. I think Fields is fine, but I'm not going to whip him out there in the final 4 of the playoffs. Russell Gage worth a pickup start? I think so, man. Russell Gage, let me just pull up Russell Gage's last few games here and just kind of look at this, because he's probably been a top 20 receiver the last couple weeks here. Russell Gage's last 4 games, he's got 2 touchdowns in that span. He's got a total of 8 receptions, 4 receptions, 11 receptions, and 6. So he's got a floor of 4. And then his yards, he's been over 60 yards in 4 straight games. So at a minimum, you're going to lock in 4 for 10, and you got a 50% chance at a touchdown. It's Detroit Lions. His targets have been through the roof. And then his fantasy output, the last 4 games, 18.2 PPR points, 22 PPR points, 10.4, and 23.1. So I think right out of the gate, you're going to lock yourself into 10 points there. with him. It is Detroit. I think it could be a pretty good Russell Gage week. So I think he's worth a pickup and a start. I'd have to know your other options. But since Russell Gage missed part of the early part of the season, but since he's been back, he's been pretty much like a wide receiver 2 or 3. And the thing with Barkley, though, it really depends on their offseason, right? Are they going to commit to another Daniel Jones season? Are they going to build that offensive line? Are they going to get better on defense? Where are they going as a team? I think that's what's going to surround Barkley, and it's frustrating. We just haven't seen Daniel. I don't know how many games we've seen a healthy Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and that cast of receivers all in the field. So we'll see. And so Justin Fields, let me double check the practice reports from today. He got a limited in today, so that puts him on track. I guess I feel good about it. They could just leave him out. The season's essentially lost at this point. So I don't know if that's a confidence thing if they were to bench him for Andy Dalton here, but I don't know. I guess if you're asking because of the Seattle Seahawks defense, that makes sense now. I would assume limited practice today. If he has a setback tomorrow, that would be the end of it. But if he gets another limited in tomorrow, I think he's going to play. Saints defense or the Broncos defense? So the Broncos typically play better at home, if I'm not mistaken. I do think the Broncos are like a fringe top 10 defense this week. I just get nervous about Las Vegas, that game. Let me double check this game. I thought this game earlier in the year was a really high scoring game. Raiders, Broncos, 2021. And let me see here. I'm just pulling up this game from October 17th. Raiders versus the Broncos. This was in Denver, and the Raiders won. They won 34-24. So the Broncos defense could not figure this team out. It looks like Henry Ruggs had a big touchdown pass in this one. Kenyon Drake scored twice. Daniel Carlson's hitting some 50-yard field goals on them. So I think I'm a little less excited about the Broncos. Here's a rule of thumb that I like to do. Go to your favorite sports book app. I like to look at DraftKings Sportsbook, and I'm just going to open up the game lines here. And if I'm looking for a streaming defense, I like to see, okay, who's the home team and are they favored to win by a good amount? And then I'm looking at the over-under score. And for this, I think it's a Monday night game. So it's a Monday night game, Dolphins Saints. And there's an over-under of just 39 points in this game. That's the lowest, the second lowest total of the week here. So that expecting 39 points, Saints favored to win by 3. That would basically put it like 21-18 essentially. So I like the Saints here. Tua's good for a turnover or 2 each game. So I think it's the Saints, and I'm pretty confident in that. St. Brown going to be gone because no Goff. If there's no Jared Goff, I don't want any piece of the Lions offense. I don't even remember. It's Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle's the backup there. I suppose if you needed St. Brown, you can try it. I mean, I'd rather play Russell Gage. I'd rather play Alan Lazard if no MVS. There's some other players here that I'm probably going to lean with. And again, it's all about who your quarterback is. I like St. Brown. He's been balling the last couple games here. But if Goff ain't playing, I'm not playing St. Brown, I think. But yeah, there's so much going on, man. It's just it's a frustrating time with all this COVID business. I'm going to get back to some of the player news and updates and see if I can find anything that pops out to me. It sounds like the Packers have a couple injury updates here with David Bakhtiari. He didn't practice today. He was expected to return at some point this season, but it looks like the timeline keeps pushing it back, and they're probably rehabbing him for the playoffs. So maybe we don't see him till January. Maybe he gets a little run in against Detroit Week 18. Let me keep looking around here for some updates. We already read all those. Will Disley, Alex Collins on the COVID list, Josh Reynolds limited. I really hope AJ Brown plays tomorrow night. That would be good. Good for the TV watching, I suppose. But I guess while I have you guys here, so Thursday night, that's tomorrow evening. I'll still do a live show from 6:30 to 7. Friday, though, I head home for Christmas festivities. And then Saturday, I'm going to be at the game, Lambeau Field. So I won't be able to do any live shows Friday or Saturday. I could maybe squeeze one in on Saturday. I'll have to see what I can do. But if you guys do need questions answered, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, just reply to this video, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. Um, so it's interesting. They kind of are isolated. MVS and Lazard are both on the field a lot together, and the targets kind of just go based on who's open kind of situation. So that's why it's been bouncing back and forth the last few games here. Um, but MVS, let me double check something here too, because I can't remember in terms of snap counts. I know week 14 against the Bears, like Alan Lazard dominated the snaps over MVS. And then let me double check here against the Baltimore Ravens. I just want to see. And again, Alan Lazard gets more snaps than MVS. So I think either way, Alan Lazard's locked into the number 2 wide receiver role, and I don't know who they're going to pull up as the number 3 wide receiver. They did run some kind of secondary receivers like Jawan Winfrey, Malik Taylor, so I think you're going to see a ton of Alan Lazard if no MVS, and it's a good matchup. The Browns defense is banged up. They got COVID issues. They just put Newsom on the COVID list today, so I think it could be a really good matchup. And then just Rodgers is going to set the record for Packer touchdown passes all time. So I think that could be a lot of fun if it's Javonte or Lazard. That would be my bets. Um, but let me keep looking for some news. Brandon Cooks got put on the reserve COVID list. We don't know if his vaccination. We don't know of his vaccination status, so we'll see. Tampa Bay, Mike Evans not practicing yet. Jamison Crowder not practicing. The big one today, I guess, was Elijah Mitchell. They did rule him out. Is Lazard worth starting over Saquon at flex? Interesting. So I could answer that as a yes, and it really depends. If you are kind of the underdog in this situation, and I would explain it as, do you just need safe points? Like, are you the team that's projected the most points? Can you just, lock in the 10 to 12 Saquon Barkley points? Or are you looking for, an Alan Lazard 6 for 80 in a touchdown game that gets you 20? I think if you're looking for the ceiling play, if you're, especially if you're the underdog, I don't mind whipping out Alan Lazard. But if you're projected the lead, I would go Saquon here. And no, they typically give Saquon the Wednesday either do not practice or they give him kind of a veterans rest day. And this is really common, especially when you get into December football. Everybody's banged up. Everyone's feeling something. So you see a lot of these running backs and veteran players get either a limited day in on Wednesday or they just don't even practice at all and they just prep for Thursday. So for now, I'm not too worried about Saquon. If it does become an issue, like I'm fine with Alan Lazard. I do think he's going to be a good play. But we have to wait and see. I believe MVS is vaccinated. There's a chance he could play. What's the snap count on Saquon and Booker? Let me take a peek here for you. And I guess that you do make a good point. If we're looking at the snap splits for Saquon and Booker, that's less opportunity for our guy Saquon here. So Saquon Barkley, he played 59% of the snaps. Devontae Booker got 44% of the snaps here. So Saquon just kind of barely ahead here. Let me double check the touches from last week here. So Saquon, 15 carries and 4 receptions, so 19 total touches, and Booker got about 10. So it's almost 2-1 towards Saquon Barkley right now. He would have had a decent fantasy day. He would have had, it looks like 11.4, but he did lose a fumble. I think that's the first fumble loss of his career too. That was a tough matchup against Dallas. So I think Saquon, if you're comfortable, with that 9 to 11 point PPR floor, I would say go with Saquon here. I would say no. I mean, I think the Giants are just at a part of their season where they know it's lost. And Booker, we have to admit, Booker has looked good on his touches the last couple games here. So I think they're just finding a way to make sure he gets work here. Why not give the guy work when he's been looking good? So I think it's kind of a limitation thing where they don't want to give Barkley the ball 25, 30 times a game. And just because Booker's playing well, they want to make sure he gets some breather for Saquon Barkley there. What other news came out today? The coaches for the Eagles, man, Nick Sirianni, COVID, he's going to work remote this week. Sam Darnold, man, we might see Sam Darnold pop back up this year at some point. DJ Moore not practicing with a hamstring. That doesn't sound good. That's a downgrade from last week. So I think you have to, at the moment right now, you have to plan to not be without. You have to plan to be without DJ Moore. Well, In terms of receptions, though, like Saquon still had 8 targets to compared to only 2 for Devontae Booker. So even though like he might be in on third downs, I think on third, like long and third down and distance, that's typically what the Giants are in. They're looking for wide receivers on those targets. So I still think Saquon Barkley gets the high leverage targets where it's 8 targets again compared to 2. So on first and second down, Saquon Barkley is more of a priority to get the ball as a receiving weapon. So we'll see if Jake Fromm can dump it off to him and hit him a little bit more consistently. Um, Alexander Madison's back for the Vikings. Teddy Bridgewater out for week 16. Harrison Butker. So if you guys play in leagues with kickers, he's not vaccinated. He's not playing week 16 against the Steelers. I don't know who their backup. Elliott Fry. I think that's the old Eagles kicker. So we'll see here. Were you able to win with a 90-point game? I hope you were able to win. I think for the most part, if you didn't have Cooper Kupp, Travis Kelce, or Mark Andrews, everybody's team disappointed. Actually, one of the teams that I was in my playoffs, he had like Brandon Cooks, he had Amon-Ra St. Brown, he had Devin Singletary, he had Jalen Hurts. Just a lot of things popped off for him, and he won without one of those tight ends. So that's it. Week 15 was one of the weirdest weeks I've ever seen. I ended up losing my fantasy matchup because Antonio Gibson couldn't get 3 more rushing yards last night. I lost by 0.26 points. So pretty frustrating. But that's why we play in other leagues. We got a handful of leagues here. I'm down 10. It's an 8-man league, so it's a combined 2 week. Interesting. Okay. So hopefully you're down 10. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. That's just one player worth of points here. So I think you should be okay. What's going on? Porsche 2-3. How are we doing? I'm looking at the fantasy playoffs here. Did you advance in our fantasy playoffs here? Let me see here. Where are we? Return of the DAC. Did you win? Oh, you did advance. I'm looking at the numbers here real quick. Man, you won with a 79.98 game to 74.48. So that's quite fortunate for you, my man. Fix and play a monster next week. The guy with the yeah, Justin, the number 1 seed, the number 1 seeds in town. Final 4. We got some good squads in the Final 4. I think he made a trade. Did you trade? I think Justin traded for Jonathan Taylor. I think he sent James Robinson to Aiden's team, and that was pretty much history at that point. So Mahomes, Herbert, those are his first 2 draft picks. He stole Cooper Kupp in the 3rd or 4th round, and then he trades for Jonathan Taylor. So it was just everything hitting here. I don't know how Justin's going to lose this one. I don't know. I usually don't allow league voting on a trade. I think if 2 players are going to vote on a trade, and if it's not like an obvious wrong side of things here. But I think at the time of the trade, Jonathan Taylor wasn't beast moding yet, but he was close. So he had a first couple of weeks were a little sore, but we'll see. But anyways, I think that's going to do it for tonight's show. Again, the schedule for the rest of the week, I'll be doing a live show tomorrow. We'll go live around 6:30 Central Time. But Friday, I will be out of town. I'll be headed back home for Christmas. And then Saturday, Christmas Day, I will be at Lambeau Field cheering on the Packers. So we'll see what happens here. Justin Jefferson covered by Ramsey worries me this week. I wouldn't be too worried. Justin Jefferson's going to be able to win his matchups. And I think at the moment right now, they don't assign Ramsey to just one player. They like Ramsey in the slot. That's where he can make the plays. He's closer to the line of scrimmage that way. He's more in the middle of the field. So I think Justin Jefferson, I think they're going to be creative with moving him around. And who knows, maybe Adam Thielen actually, if he plays, maybe he gets a lot more of Jalen Ramsey matched up in the slot. So, or it's going to be KJ Osborne. So I still think Justin Jefferson, he's an elite wide receiver right now. And who knows, he's that good where he could beat Ramsey on a couple plays. So, but anyways, I appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Peace.